Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the new workspace. What do you think? Today we're going to talk a little bit about our tired old center stack pieces that get all the blemishes and those little things that are right in your face while you're driving that drive you crazy. So we're offering a vinyl wrap kit that comes in a variety of colors, some specifically picked to match the interior or the exterior of your Element. The pattern is also available for free download in PDF from our website, ElementDIY.com, and so anyone can download that and do this at home if you've got a vinyl cutter or a Cricut, and pick any design or any color option that you want. If you'd rather have it cut for you, I'm happy to do that. You can also get that off of the website, pick one of our multiple colors, and I'll get it shipped out to you in a few days. Today we're going to talk about the process of actually installing it, which can involve some uninstalling of some of your car parts if you want to go that far into the install. If you're really nervous about doing this, I'll let you know it is pretty simple, but nonetheless, you could feel free to grab somebody to give you a hand who has some more experience with this. Any type of auto body shop or detailing shop should have somebody on staff who could do this job for you. Yo! As you can see, I offer a wide variety of colors, and there's even more available than this, and we're constantly adding things. I do want to give a quick shout out here, please, to Omega Mill, who makes these bags. These are designed to hang in the back corner of the storage area on that hook, and they sit right over top of the storage space that's in that lower right corner. So you can get them for the passenger side or for the driver's side. They also come in a green color. So the tools I use for this are a curved pick tool, an X-Acto knife, sometimes a regular knife as well is useful. I've got a pair of tweezers, a pry tool for trim or a trim removal tool, and a squeegee or a flat hard surface to go ahead and smooth out any bubbles. I always pack this up in a box to take out to the car with me in case I do have to do any trimming. I've got an easy surface to do it on sitting on my lap. I don't have to worry about getting out of the car and finding a place to do it. It's already there. Here we are inside of Izzy looking at the center stack, or sometimes referred to as the center assembly. I'm going to go ahead and take a few pieces off here to make this a little bit easier. We're actually going to take the whole thing off and take it inside and work on it. That will make the job easier, and it'll make it easier for me to be able to film it. But you can still do this work inside of your car. I'm going to show you what that looks like first. So we're going to pop off the radio bezel here. You pull off from the bottom, and then there's two more clips up here on the top. They come out pretty easily. You can see them here. Okay. Now down here to the bottom, we're going to go ahead and take this one off as well. Just get it started a little bit, and then you can flip this over. The same deal. There's these little clips around the side, and you just work your way around carefully, not to cause any damage, right? You get them unclipped. You'll have to disconnect the four-way flashers, the emergency lights here. Of course, you want to make sure that you remember to plug these back in when you do the reassembly, because if this isn't plugged in, your turn signals won't work. Now, you can stop right here and go ahead and do the install. As I said, I'm going to remove the whole thing so I can get it inside. If you have one of the later models, a 2006 or later, where this is black, this plastic gets easily deteriorated in the sun, and I would not recommend removing this unless you absolutely have to, because it gets brittle and they crack, and then they're hard to find to replace. So I recommend leaving it in if you have one of the later models. Up into the 05s though, these are pretty simple to remove, and they're pretty sturdy as well. And so to remove this, again, I start down at the bottom. There's these little clips that go along the sides. So you want to get started, and then you'll hear a few of them pop out. Work your way up, and you're pulling this directly out. You don't want to start to pull it up and over. You're pulling it directly out. Now, in order to get it out more easily, I'm going to go ahead and put it in neutral, and then it'll just start to slide out. You'll have to disconnect the controls for the climate controls. There. Just took a little bit more finesse and it came out. When you first get your wrap, it'll be rolled up like this, and it'll look quite smooth. As you start to unroll it, you may notice that some bubbles start to appear. That's just because you're pulling the two different pieces, the backing and the front, away from each other. Now, you're going to need to separate this, and this will give you an opportunity to kind of get used to the feel of this. You can feel the stickiness on the back, and it doesn't have a really strong adhesive until you heat it up. These have already been pre-cut, so you just hold down a little bit. Sometimes you might want to throw a little tool in there, and once it gets started, then it opens up very, very easy. Okay? There's another piece down here. You'll want to do the same thing with it. Now, if you find that it's not coming up very super easily, if you're having a little bit of trouble with it, there's nothing wrong with taking a pick tool or something like that and just getting it right on the line and pushing away and just getting it to start. Once it starts, like I said, it's pre-cut, it's perforated, and so it's gonna come off very, very easy as you start to pull it off. Okay? The same thing then will happen with the next step. As you start to pull this up, you're gonna try to keep the inside pieces down on the backing. Now, one of the reasons I'm sending these along with you instead of doing all the peeling myself is I found some people want to use these. They have these and they want to be able to do other things with them. So you go ahead and pull that up and work your way around all three here. Then I would go ahead and install this one. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and use a little isopropyl alcohol. It'll clean everything off of here, give me a nice surface on which to get the wrap to adhere. Once you have it out, the climate control is just held on with 4 screws on the back, so you can go ahead and flip it over. In fact, I just have this one being held on with 1 screw right now, but there's 4 right there. Now, the great thing about this material is that it's not super sticky until you start to apply heat to it. Although you want to try to minimize all the touching on the back of it as you can, you do have some freedom here to be able to do this. It also allows for you to be able to move it. Now, what I found here on the top piece is you get the center one lined up, and then you just need to get the angle going outward. That seems to be the most common thing, that one will be placed a little too high, and of course the other one placed a little too low. So once you get the center one lined up, then you can go ahead and toy with leveling them out. In this case, I got really lucky and it goes right on. Now, I've got a few tools that I like to use to get it into the corners. Like, for example, I'll use the back side of this to go ahead and rub it in there. But we're not going to do anything until we heat it up and get it to start falling into shape. So let's go ahead, all these corners, everything seems to be pretty even, lined up on the hole very well. So we're going to go ahead and put the heat gun on it. When I use the heat gun, I use the lower of the 2 settings, and I do it at a distance. I don't ever get too close to it because then you really risk damaging it. And you'll see how it reacts I'll turn it on and then slowly move in, see how it reacts, and if it's reacting too quickly, I'll pull it out. So it slowly starts, you can see it slowly start to lower itself and adhere to the plastic underneath. It gets a little bit smoother, and every once in a while you'll get a little raised bubble. You just hit that, and you can smooth it out with your finger. Of course, we do have other tools to use to help smooth it out as well. Here's one of those ripples I was talking about. You can get it pretty well with your finger. One thing that you don't want to do is when it's exceedingly hot or warm is go after it aggressively with something like this. You'll stretch it and bend it, warp it at that point. So you want to go gently. You can use your finger to press down on things, but don't really go pushing on it when it's too warm. Now, down here is where we want to get a little bit of precision. We don't have to worry too much about the top because this is going to be covered with the radio bezel that goes around that. So we want to hit these and get in there and get this to start to lay correctly. Going gently with our finger and get it started. Now there is a little overlap, meaning there's a little bit of extra material that comes up along the sides. I like that look, and I've kept it in all of mine. If you wanted to get in there and clean it up using an X-Acto knife, you certainly could. But I like the look, and so I leave it in there. We might have got a little too hot right here in the corner. You could see it started to curl up. Notice I'm using the curved side of this and not the pointy side. You know, sometimes if I need to pull something up, I can use the pointy side to get underneath and hook it. But at this point, I'm using the curved side to smooth it out. That was really easy. After the install's done, you'll come back to the next piece. You'll start to pull it up. And I'm gonna use the pick here. There we go, just to perforate that a little bit and make that a lot easier to pull up. Again, you've got a little hole over here for the 4-ways. You're gonna try to leave that one behind. Now, on the inner piece, there is a piece of waste here. You'll get rid of that little ring, and then you'll pull up the rest of it. If it happens to come up and pulls all the pieces with it, don't fear. You can simply pop them out once you have it up, and they come out quite simply. You can touch the back sparingly, but it does a very good job of maintaining its adhesive. I wouldn't go throwing it in a sandbox, but if you touch it a little bit on the back, it's gonna be fine. This piece, I recommend removing and doing, since it's very easy to remove with the center stack still in place. And so even if you do leave the center stack in place, you can still pull this piece out fairly easy. Now, the great thing about the first piece that we did and the second piece is primarily it's a flat surface. And we're putting a flat cutout onto a flat surface. That makes it pretty easy. We'll want to line up the circle and then work our way this way first to make sure we have this one lined up. You can see it's off, so we're going to reposition it. Once you get it started, then just go right around the edge of this. Keep the wrap right on the edge of the cutout in the bezel. Okay, and we've got it really nice and tight up around here. Let's go ahead and start to apply the heat. If you start to see wrinkles, go ahead and smooth them out. I'm stretching on this a little bit. To get it lined up perfect with the opening. Now on this piece, I left quite a bit of overlap so that it can come down and adhere here to this as well. By doing this, it will make it a little bit more difficult to slide it back into place, as in you'll be forcing it down and it'll try to push that wrap back out. And so you want to really push down on it. Alternatively, you can take your X-Acto knife and you can slice off any extra. That'll make insertion a lot simpler, but I don't think it makes the finished product look as good. So this is where the idea of calling it a wrap comes in, because it wraps around the edges. Okay, let's go ahead and put it back together now. We'll make sure it's tucked in underneath as you start to feed it back down in. So this is the most difficult one to do for a few reasons. So I save it to the last. That way I've had a little bit of practice and I feel like my skills are a little bit more honed. The main reason this one's so difficult is because it's curved. Really, all of the other ones are flat surfaces and we're just putting a flat decal over top of it. This one has more of a curve to it. So that makes it more challenging. Right. Let's go ahead and get started and I'll walk you through it as we do. Okay. This is cut to the exact measurements of the diameter of the circle. And so if you get that lined up and follow it around and then get the indicator light, the indicator section lined up as well, then you're in a good starting position. Now we're just kind of lightly laying the outside down and we'll come back around and get it to fit more precisely as we heat it up. You'll see how we start to get wrinkles as we move towards the outside. Again, that's because this is curved. I think we need a little bit of heat on it now to start to get it to contour. Just working those bubbles away from the center to the outside. And that one I'm going to push down on a little bit more. It was a little large. I didn't want to slide over it because then I could create a crease or a fold. So I pushed down on that one. So we have a lot going on right here in this section. A lot of things that we're trying to line up. Might need a little bit of stretching and pulling. And it might need a little bit of shrinking as well. I use this same gun for a lot of my electrical work, and so my instinct is always to turn it on high immediately. But on these applications, you want to use it on low. And now that we're back in the car, we're going to go ahead and fit this in place. Don't forget to put in your climate controls in the back, and then you've also got to get your 4-ways here plugged in. I'll go ahead and check them. Yep, 4-ways are flashing to make sure that I got them. Get it all lined up, and it's just a few pushes in around where the snaps are. Easier if you start at the top and work your way down. Go ahead and put the radio bezel back on. And then when I finish up this, I like to do one last little detail, which is replace that old gray one with a nice looking sharp black. So I think it really pops in here against the new wrap. If you want to order the wraps or these black plugs, I've got them all on ElementDIY.com. Hopefully you found the video useful and the install fairly easy. If you have any questions, of course you can find me on social media. I'm elementdiydesigns@gmail.com if you want to email me, or you can comment below. Thanks again, and take care of each other.
Yo!